Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as United looks set for a windfall from Real Madrid. Also, Onana staying at Manchester United. We've also got some new quotes coming out from Ruben Amorim's press conference for the Chelsea game. Obviously, yesterday he did a press conference. That was for the final next week. This is in relation to the Chelsea game. A few bits to get into. Also, Sean Dyche saying he could do a better job than Ruben Amorim. I actually do agree, but there is context. We'll talk about that as well. Welcome, everybody. Hope you're doing very well. I'm feeling a little bit delicate. Had a bit too many pints with Kev last night. But yeah, we're good. We're good. And it's nice to be back with you good people. So look, let's fly straight into it. There is a bit of news coming out of Madrid that we could get some money in relation to Alvaro Fernandez. He could be heading there this summer, according to Marca. This would mean that we get, and I'll read it to you actually, Alvaro has become one of Real Madrid's priorities. He has a 42 million release clause at Benfica, but Man United still have a 15 million buy option. That expires in December. Real's big concern for the deal is United. The player has made it clear he does not want to return to England. But I feel that we've got a bit of an ability here with him being sold on to get a bit of a sell-on clause or something like that. So that could be a little bit of money coming into Manchester United. Look, people will say we should have brought him back instead of Dorgu. It doesn't feel like he wants to come back, does it? It feels like he wants to go to Real Madrid. So I don't think there's a hell of a lot we can do about that. But there could be a bit of money heading our way with regards to that. The release clause being so high and United's ability to buy him back. There must be some, it'd be stupid of United to watch him go to Real Madrid for 44 million and us not get some of that money. So I don't know the complexities of it, but we must be getting a percentage or something. So it'll be a little bit of money. And considering we're flying to the other side of the world straight after the Villa game to earn 8 million quid in 2 meaningless friendlies, I'm sure if we can get 8 or 10 million out of that Alvaro deal to Real Madrid, it would be something that would make Ineos, Sir Jim and Joel Glazer smile a lot. What might not make people smile is this story that's coming out from the Manchester Evening News that Onana may not be leaving Manchester United this summer. So it says Ruben Amorim wants a new goalie for his first full season in charge, but United have got no plans to spend a significant sum on one unless Onana leaves. Manchester United senior figures remain supportive of Onana and hope he can regain the form of the first 3 months of the season. There is an acceptance his form has spiralled since he was beaten by Gibbs White in December. Man United do not regard a goalkeeper as a priority target this summer. I mean, look, I've got to say I do feel a sense of deja vu and an element of slow sports news, because it's a little bit like the Liam Delap story, isn't it? I mean, we did speak about this 6 weeks ago from a very good source that Man United are confident they've won the battle and he's United's priority. I don't want him to be United's priority, but that was the story we had. And in the international break before that, we also had from the same source, Amorim wants to replace Onana with his own guy, but there is an acceptance that it might not be easy to get rid of him. So all this is regurgitation of stuff that we already know. This is not breaking news from the Manchester Evening News. It's stories that have been mentioned before that are being rehashed. At a time, I don't really understand why you'd rehash it, because we've got a massive game on Wednesday. Why would you... Well, I understand why the media would do it, because they've got bosses saying, you need to hit your quota of clicks today. But the point I'm making as a Man United fan is, what purpose does it serve to stir up an old story 4 or 5 days before a massive game where he will be our goalkeeper? We already know the situation with Onana. If we can't sell him, he will stay. We already know the situation with Onana, that Ruben Amorim wants his own guy. And as per our update in the international break, Ruben Amorim actually likes Onana. Onana is quite well liked in the dressing room. It's not that everybody thinks he's crap or they don't like him. It's just the fact that Amorim didn't buy him. It's not his goalkeeper. And like Arteta and like Pep, managers these days want their own goalkeeper. And that's all that Amorim wants. It's got nothing to do with thinking Onana's useless or anything like that. Ten Hag did it with De Gea. I want my own guy, and that was Onana. And Amorim wants his own guy. The big problem is that there's context to this story. If Onana stays at Man United, it's not because Amorim wants Onana. It's because he's got to put up with Onana because the club are broke. So it's all right. The story isn't that Onana is staying because Amorim thinks he's the best thing since, Van der Sar or Schmeichel or De Gea. It's because United have a list of priorities and we can't do everything. We certainly can't do everything with the budget that we have. So I think that this story is a little bit irrelevant. We spoke about it in the international break. What was said then was that, yes, Amorim wants a goalkeeper, but it depends on whether Sir Jim Radcliffe and Joel Glazer will sell Onana and provide the funds for a new goalkeeper. And that, at the moment, is very much in the balance. Because if your priority is Cunha, Delap, and a midfielder, and a centre-back, that you might not get those 4 players. And a goalkeeper as well. And who's going to buy Onana? So I think what we'll see, my prediction is we will see a Milinkovic-Savic or someone like that come into the club for about 15 million quid. Onana might stay and lose his place to the new goalkeeper, but that new goalkeeper won't necessarily come in as a star-studded goalkeeper who's going to take Onana's place. I can see something like that happening. And I think it really just comes down to money. Man United and Amorim would love a goalkeeper, but what can you do in one summer when the club faces financial restrictions? Especially if you're not in the Europa League. How do you get striker, midfielder, centre-back, number 10, right wing back, goalkeeper? How do you do that? So I think it's a regurgitation of a story at a time where we don't need it, because what we need to be doing around Onana, and I think many of you would agree with me on this, is Kulusevski's out for Spurs, Maddison's out for Spurs, their creative element is somewhat missing, and Onana will be in goal for Manchester United. And we should be going into this game that will dictate our mood on Thursday morning, Wednesday night, across the summer, next season. We need to be supportive of these players we've got and hope that they can deliver something special on Wednesday night. And then afterwards, we can all part ways or stay together with the knowledge that they've achieved a rescue job in a season that has been horrific. And I don't want to be talking about who's leaving Man United, and I don't want to be talking about how bad this player is or how bad that player is. I want Onana on Wednesday night to have the best game of his Man United career. And if he ends up leaving to go to Saudi and we end up replacing him, he can go with good wishes. I do not want to be negative towards any Man United player before Wednesday, because I don't want to be a United fan that is responsible for that negativity going into this game. That doesn't mean that there won't be people negative. You make your own choices, absolutely. But I just don't think it's useful thinking about whether Onana's going or not, or getting stressed about that when we know. Look, is Onana going to be a Man United player next season? I don't know. What I do know is he's in goal on Wednesday night, unless he gets injured, and we need him to have a worldie. So that's my only focus on that. But I don't think there's anything in that story from the Manchester Evening News we need to worry about that we didn't know in the international break. Of course, Amorim would like to move him on, but Amorim might want to move, Amorim might want to move on Xerxes, ideally, but he knows he's not going to do it. He might want to move on Agate, for all we know, but he knows he's not going to do it. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, does it? So I'd be interested to see obviously what happens over the summer, but in the short term, it's an irrelevant story. Just on the Tottenham game as well, where are you on this? Because I was driving back and I heard a certain radio station on their 12 o'clock news lead with Man United are now favourites to win the final because Kulusevski's injured. And I'm like, I've played the game. I know exactly what they're doing here. They're trying to make us favourites for this final, and I resist it. I don't think we're favourites for this final at all, and I don't think we need that task to be levelled at us. This is a big, big game, and it's ridiculously hard to call, and I don't want the favourites tag for that at all. What I will say is, Chung Minion says, are you excited and nervous for Wednesday? Well, we had a United stand night out last night in Manchester, and I've got to say, I'm feeling more positive, and that's not the lager. I'm feeling more positive since Kulusevski's got the injury. I think with no Maddison and no Kulusevski, it weakens them. But that doesn't make us favourites, because last time I checked, we haven't got Xerxes, we haven't got De Ligt, we haven't got Dalot, and we haven't got Yoro. That now, obviously, some of them aren't definitely out, but I don't know whether any of them can actually start the game, considering they're not going to be available for Chelsea. So we've got injuries as well, and we don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. So I refute the fact that we're favourites. I think we're in for a very, very interesting game. Rahil says, welcome back, Mark. When you work hard, you get to play hard. Good to hear you enjoyed yourself, plus the good weather. Have a great day. It's lovely weather in Manchester yesterday. Lovely weather. Check out my Instagram, actually. Took a quick pic there as I was walking past this morning. I'm starting to look. I get to go to Old Trafford quite a lot. Obviously, our studio's right near it. I even got to go to a game this season and take Seb to his first. But I am starting to, when I don't know anyone else feels like this when they're at Old Trafford, but every time I go there now, I am starting to be very aware of the plans to knock it down. And there is a sort of sadness to it at the moment, because I look at it and it really does need care. And they're not going to give it care. They're going to knock it down at some point, and it's just I just every time I'm there, I just think I can't imagine when they knock this down. And even Beth was saying to me today that like she wants the new stadium, but is starting to look at Old Trafford and the night against Lyon, and it's like it will be sad when it goes, and it is disheartening. Like Gavin says, it's like I understand. Look, if you've been there, it definitely. You can see that we need to do something. It's just so sad that we're going to knock that down. It's incredible. You know, you see the Munich clock, you see the statues, you see just the aura of the place, and it's like, I can't believe we're going to knock this down. You know, imagine Liverpool knocking Anfield down to build something next to it. It's the cycle of life. Yes, it is, Maddison, but I just think it's sad. If we keep Onana and he costs us to crash out of the Champions League, then what do we do, says Liam. Spencer Silvertown says, why not buy back Alvaro for 15 million and sell him straight to Madrid for 40? Win-win situation. That's what I mean, Spencer. There's got to be some money involved in this for Manchester United if Alvaro goes to Real Madrid, as is being reported. Thank you very much for that. Thanks for your super chats. Okay, I want to talk about what Amorim's had to say in the press conference, but I will talk to you about what Sean Dyche said first. So Sean Dyche has been on the overlap. Basically, I saw the clip. He said that if I was in charge of Manchester United at the moment, I'd effectively do a better job than Amorim. I agree with him. I absolutely agree with him. And this is like the ladder. I don't know whether I mentioned this on the show I did with Terry yesterday or whether I mentioned it. I think I did it. I did do it on the preview, didn't I? If you put Ruben Amorim, if you put Sean Dyche in charge of this Manchester United side, Sean Dyche's football is basic. It's like really basic. And our players, some of them are quite low IQ. So simple instructions, simple football, I think we would get better results. But there would be a very quick ceiling. It would probably be 8th in the Premier League. Sean Dyche is not going to get Man United into the top 4. Never in a million years. That's not going to happen. That style of football will not do it. And if you did do it, it would be like Nuno at Forest, and people would be depressed about how negative and basic the football is. We don't want that. So I agree with Sean Dyche that he probably could come in, play his back four, grind out results, win the second balls, be good on set pieces. I agree. We would start winning games more than we are now. But that's completely misunderstanding the fact that what we're doing here is breaking everything down to start again and rebuild and try and get into the top 4 playing a brand of football that everybody likes. But you've got to break it down first. So I would rather be at the bottom of a ladder I want to climb than mid-table up a ladder with Sean Dyche. And there would be better results, but you'd hit a plateau very, very quickly. Whereas with Amorim, we're going to go right down to the bottom, but the plan is to go really high. It's like Terry said yesterday. I thought it was a very good analogy, actually. If you've got a leak in your roof, you can fix that roof, and your roof is rotten. You can do a quick fix with Sean Dyche, and your roof won't leak. But eventually, it will all fall apart. Or you can fix all the rot, clear it all down. There's going to be a big, massive hole. You're going to get a load of rain in the short term, but in the long term, you're going to build a really great roof that's never going to leak and everyone's going to be jealous of. And that's what Man United are doing with Amorim. And it amazes me that the media and certain fans don't realise that what we're actually doing is what we need to do. Exposing the issues. Making things worse to rebuild it better is what we're trying to do. So yeah, I agree with Sean Dyche. He would come in and do a better job than Amorim in the short term because his football's quite basic and our players are quite basic and we would get better results. We'd grind out better results. But in the long term, we would hit a boring plateau of probably 8th. With Amorim, we're going to go down to hopefully bounce back and play a really good brand of football and get into the top 4 again and hopefully go beyond that. And it was interesting what Amorim said in his press conference, because he was basically saying that I'm not going to say it because I'd be, Amorim said this, I'll be perceived as a madman. But really, when you look at the way we're playing, we are getting closer to where we need to be in relation to how close the results are. Think about Wolves, we lost, but we had way more chances, and we've had a few games like that in the last few weeks. But I'm not going to claim that we're, everything's okay, because we're horrific in the league, but the signs are there that we can get better, and I do agree with that. But obviously, nobody's really going to talk about that. But Deitch in the get in the gravel, says Jackie Boy. We should write to the local council to stop the project. That is only reason the Glazers are staying. Take it from them, they'll leave, says Stephen G. Well, it's interesting what Beth was talking about this morning with Qatar. I mean, I was in the office and we were going through that about whether to even discuss it. But to be fair, the author who was talking about it, that book is brilliant. In fact, I think I've got it here. Yeah, it's a really good book. Really good book. It's called The World's Biggest Cash Machine. And I think one of you recommended it to me, actually. It's by Chris Blackhurst. A really good book about United, the Glazers, and what they did. And it was him who had said yesterday that Qatar are waiting. They will step in and buy Manchester United if it becomes available. It's there still. But it was there before. And it's like I said yesterday, like, we shouldn't dismiss the fact that that the Qatar offer is still there. But it's probably as unlikely as it's ever been, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Joel Glazer are not looking to sell. And I sort of agree with what you're saying, Stephen. I would love the council to pull the plug on the regeneration project, because I don't know where they get the money to do that then. And if they haven't got the money to do that then, they've got to pay for it themselves, which they will never do. And Sir Jim will never do, because he doesn't own 100% of the club. And suddenly United are like, our whole regeneration project is gone. Does that then, cause them to, fall out, and, then there's an opportunity for somebody to come in. So, look, I don't know. There's probably greater minds than mine in the chat. And there's probably, fan groups like the 58 and Must and the Red Army and everybody else who would know more about this than maybe I do. But I think that a lot of people are excited about the regeneration projects. And look, walking around Old Trafford and Salford yesterday and the Quays and everywhere like that, that area is in massive need of regeneration. Like, it really, really does. But if Manchester United can't get the government funding, they're not going to build it themselves. So, look, I understand why some people would go, I hope it all falls apart, because then, look, correct me if I'm wrong, the Qatari project was to pay for it all themselves. So would Sir Jim and Joel pay for it all themselves? No, I don't think they would. So would they abandon their projects? Would there be a parting of the ways? Potentially. But by all accounts, I think the project will get up and running. And once that project's up and running, forget it. We're stuck with the Glazers for probably another lifetime. Because once they build that project, it's going to take a decade to build it. And then they're going to be living off the fruits of those labours for at least another 20 years. So they'll be here for a very long time once that gets up and running, I think. But as I said, and as Beth was talking about this morning, obviously the Qatari option is still there in the background, and there may be other people in the background, but we're not for sale. So, do you trust Glazers to give Amorim what he needs, says Keel? No. I had a nightmare that we lost Spurs 4-1, says Rajaf. I actually was saying this morning in the office. I said, I think the Spurs-Man United game is going to go one of two ways. One, we're going to comfortably win it. Two, they're going to comfortably win it. I don't think this game will be close. And I don't think it will be close because I think the way both teams play, our midfield can get overrun and their defence plays a high line. So I actually think it could be out of sight quite quickly for one team or the other. I don't see it going 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 3-3, 4-3. I don't think that. I think it will go I think it will go one way or the other quite quickly. And I'm hoping it's going to go our way, because I think if you can get 1 or 2-0 up against Spurs, mentally they will fall apart. But look, I don't know which way it's going to go. The only way Glinios would willingly sell today is if Qatar offered to 10 billion up front, says Jackie Boy. No, look, before we talk about what Amorim said in the press conference, I genuinely do think if the regeneration project fell apart and United had to fund it themselves, they wouldn't be able to do it. And there might be an honest chat between Ineos and the Glazers where they go, we need, billions of investment into the club to build this, or we need billions to, look, basically you're stuck with Old Trafford that's crumbling. You need a new stadium, or you need to renovate Old Trafford, and your regeneration project, which is being partly funded by the government or whoever, is falling through. You've got to look at each other and go, where do we find the money then to rebuild Old Trafford or build a new stadium? Because I'm not paying it and you're not paying it. We've got to sell, and I think that's what would have to happen. If they can't find external help to do that regeneration, they would have to sell because they're not going to pay it themselves. So I understand it when people say, I hope it falls through, because what would the club do? What would they do? The whole deal between Joel and Sir Jim is based on this government, project. I think. Let's go through some of Amorim's comments from the Chelsea game, because to be honest with you, most of the good comments came from yesterday's Europa League final, but there was an extra bit. He spoke about the Chelsea game tomorrow night, of course. He said, does this game help when you've got such a big game on Wednesday? Amorim said, look, I face every game with the same intention, to win. We need to win. We need the points, and we need to improve. I want to see focus. The small details matter. We've seen that against West Ham. You switch off, you concede. And we've got to play this game the same way as we play the final. He said, look, there is time to recover. Thinking about not playing players because we're playing a final on Wednesday, it's Friday that we're playing. That is 5 days clear before Wednesday night. So we've got time to recover. Whether you play or not in the final, in this game against Chelsea, doesn't mean you're not playing in the final. But how we play impacts the final. So players could play their way into the final. I haven't made my mind up yet. The focus is on the Chelsea game, and there's plenty of time to recover. And also, not playing a game for 9 days is not ideal. So what he's saying is, if I can't not play people from West Ham to the final, that's 9 days. It's like an international break almost, isn't it? And we know how players can come back quite rusty. So he said the only players I'm not going to play against Chelsea are players that are high risk, i.e., they're in the red zone. I won't use those players. But realistically, I think a lot of people are going to play tomorrow because he needs that freshness, he needs that sharpness, he needs that focus, and 9 days is too long to go without a game of football. Whether Mazraoui will play, MK, I think is a good question. I think we just can't afford any defensive injuries. I'd be worried about Maguire, to be honest, as well. But I've got a horrible feeling that tomorrow, when we're doing the watch along, something's going to happen. The result doesn't matter to me, but I've got a horrible feeling something's going to happen because Villa are playing Spurs at the same time. I've got the feeling that we're going to be keeping an eye on the Spurs starting lineup comparable to us. And for the whole 90 minutes, I think any time a Spurs or Man United player goes down, you're looking at who, where and what. And I just think everybody's picking up injuries at the moment, so it easily could happen. He was asked about Yoro concerns, and he said, look, the reason I was so devastated when Yoro got injured against West Ham was obviously the final concern, but I was also thinking next season, what are we going to do? Do we need to get another centre-back in? But obviously, it doesn't look like it's that long-term for Yoro, but he said, no, it's not just about the final. I was thinking about next season as well. He said, that's why I took Luke Shaw off as well. Like, instantly, I'm thinking, if Yoro's out and Shaw gets an injury, what have we got left? He says, I'm doing the same thing with Mason Mount. We're managing his minutes. He's been fit for a long time, and he's ready, but we're managing his minutes to try and build him up to be more available. So, look, honesty there from Ruben Amorim. As I said to you yesterday, I don't know what you think, but I feel Delo will be fit for the final and start, and I feel like Yoro will be fit for the final and start for different reasons. I think Yoro will have match fitness. It's just about how sore his foot is. So it's not like, you look at someone like De Ligt, he's got to be fit, and then he's got to get match fit. I think with Yoro, he's just got to be pain-free, because he will already have the match sharpness because he actually played last Sunday. I think with Delo, because he's like Bruno, and his availability is very good, and his fitness is very good. Although Delot's been out for a bit, I still think I think they might risk him in the final. But I don't know about De Ligt. I don't think De Ligt's going to be back because he hasn't played for a while and he's not going to be involved against Chelsea. Andreas says Amorim's message should be any player who underperforms against Chelsea will be omitted from the Europa League final and instantly placed on the transfer list. Dawid's got his tickets for the final as a neutral, but I'm next to Tottenham fans. Dawid, well, enjoy it. And the new stadium was only ever cash cow for the Glazers. Maybe without it, they'll be more likely to sell, says Rob, always United. I agree, Rob. I think it's the key, isn't it? I don't think the focus has ever been on what we do on the pitch with the Glazers. It's about what they can earn off it. And the regeneration project is huge. It instantly takes, once that stadium's been built and all the area around it's been built, the value of Manchester United goes from 5 billion to 10 billion the day that's built. So that's what the Glazers are thinking. Amorim would have been promised some signings looking at the squad, at least 5, but now if we don't win the Europa League, the budget will be bad. Well, we knew we can't finish top 4, so the plan was always to win the Europa, says Tusha. Thank you very much for that. And Mad Jack says, could Man United be banned from the Champions League because Ineos owning Club de Nice? That's if Man United win and Nice qualify. No, this Mad Jack, this is not a story anymore. The rules actually got changed last summer, so it was a story a year ago. People still keep mentioning it, and you've probably read it somewhere. I read it somewhere. But the reality is that, look at Man City and Girona, and I think they played in the same tournament. So, yeah, it's not a rule anymore. And I think UEFA would not enforce it anyway because, as they've seen with the Europa League hype, focus and numbers are through the roof because Man United are in it. They're going to want Man United in the Champions League, of course. So, yeah, it won't be a problem. Won't be a problem at all, Mad Jack. Anyway, nice quick update there. I'm going to go and have a shower again, just to freshen up. But we have got an 8 o'clock show for you tonight. Very much looking forward to that. Thanks to all the legends who tuned in live. Also, I was listening to the radio today on the way back, and one of the radio stations was talking about mental health. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to mention it on the show. Wherever you are, whether you're driving a lorry, where you're getting home from school, whether you're sat in your garden, at work, or just chilling out watching the United stand, remember, this community is a community and you're all part of it. And I know it helps and a lot of people enjoy it. I love it as well. It's not just talking to a laptop. I really do feel like we're interacting, whether I'm reading your comments and you haven't watched live or you are, and I know a lot of you feel the same. So I just wanted to say that, mental health is really important, and I know a lot of people enjoy being part of the community. So respect to everybody for that. And I think sometimes it's important to just throw that out there and remember that we are not alone watching this. There is a load of other people watching it at the same time, and it's a fantastic community. So I'll see you later, 8 o'clock. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day, whatever you're doing. And don't forget to get your comments in if you didn't watch live. Or if you did watch live, you might want to put some comments in and leave them there and see if people interact with you. Take care. Speak to you in a bit.